everyone. As usual, it's becoming my favorite habit. Thursday nights, doing these segments with Erik, and sometimes Laura. But tonight it's Erik and we have so much to share that I hope we could squeeze it all in 30 minutes. Erik, welcome back.
Hello, Jennylyn.
I am in a little bit of a melancholy state. And that is because there was a tragedy that occurred in the country where I grew up. And I just wanted to acknowledge that tonight. A boat transporting people from the city of Georgetown to an area called the Borima-Waini region sunk. With the numbers are staggering. Some people have told me close to 200. No one really seems to know the exact amount because apparently the manifest didn't have everyone's name on it. However, the survivors were few. The recovered bodies, I think the last I heard was 34, but there's still many bodies missing. And what saddens me about this boat, it was 85 years old. And I'm embarrassed because Guyana has signed a deal with Exxon. And they're doing better than they used to. But typical with every single country and the politicians, they're living big and not much has happened for the lower class of people in Guyana. And this really infuriates me. So it took a tragedy like this to hopefully wake them up to what governance really means. It's not living big and showing off to the outside world. It's taking care of the people who have elected you to serve them. I am so tired. This just seems like a consistent attitude with politicians to where I really feel, no offense to the few good ones, that a good politician is an oxymoron. I really believe this based on what I see and know of in every country that I know of. And I'm going to leave it there, but I just have been torn up with this because I heard of a story where one mother lost all 5 of her children and 2 grandchildren. And that I couldn't sleep. This shouldn't be happening. But it did. And I don't want to make the show about this, but I wanted to acknowledge the lost souls. And I trust they are in a better place now and that those left behind will somehow find help, because I can't imagine how someone with such a huge loss could just recover. This is the one time when, although I think I have a healthy vocabulary, I don't have any words that I could extend to these people that could make them feel better. So for those of you who believe in prayer, please keep them in your thoughts. So Erik, sorry to start on such a somber note, but I felt that it makes me happy to acknowledge those people on the segment. And by the way, if you want the details of it, it's all over the internet. I think I even saw it on CNN, so you should go check if you'd like to find the details, because it's changing daily. Yeah, so Erik, what you got for us this week?
For one, tomorrow morning I'm going to be traveling to Mississippi to start working on a few cases in the state of Mississippi with the big case down there that's going on that's getting national news, the Nolan Wells case, where he went to an island and it's an uninhabited island. There's nobody who lives there. It's just some sand and some trees. Well, these college kids had this big massive party there. And then they Nolan Wells end up going missing, and they found him a couple days later, face down, washed up on the beach. So that's been the big case, and of course, it wouldn't be a big case if it wasn't for Nolan Wells is a college aged athlete. He's black, and the island was full of white people. So automatically, you're
Stop,
seeing
stop. I have to interrupt you. Was he the only black guy at the party?
they're trying to make it look like that, but if you look at the video footage of the party, there were a few, but it was probably 95% white on the island. And there, I've seen the uh, the estimates of the amount of kids on that. I call them kids, but they're college kids. The amount of people on that island are somewhere between 300 and 1,000.
Oh my God.
And this happened on the 4th of July. So basically, what happened was him and I guess now they're saying there were 7 people on the boat. The only way to get to this island is by boat. So Nolan Wells, and like 6 other people boated out to this island to go to this party. Well, Nolan Wells didn't want to leave the party. His buddies did. So his buddies left the party. Now, I was looking up some maritime laws, and that's not something, being in law enforcement from the Midwest, we don't think about maritime laws because we don't have the sea close to us. So it really jumped out to me. One of my friends, Jerome Hill, he was like looking into that. He's like, hey, there's maritime laws to consider, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. There are maritime laws to consider. So the maritime laws could put the captain, operator of the boat, at liability for the cargo. So if Nolan Wells doesn't come back and he ends up dead, the whoever's driving the boat could be held civilly liable for Nolan Wells' his whereabouts, because there's no exchange of goods. There's no exchange, so there's nobody to sign off to take responsibility of his cargo per se, and that's kind of how maritime laws work.
That's a weird law, though, because if you go and you are an adult and the party is still going on, if I were the captain, I'd be like, well, he's still partying. I'm going to bring him on the next load.
Well, it's the same thing as if you go on a cruise. If you fall off the cruise ship, you can sue the cruise line because they're responsible for all the cargo on that ship, including the persons. So it made me think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, the maritime laws do matter in this case. So Tyler Perry has jumped in there and has donated a bunch of money. Colin Kaepernick has jumped in there and donated some money. Like the big names are starting to pop up in this case and turning it into something bigger than what it is. Obviously, the loss of life.
Sorry, I keep interrupting, but I have to ask you these questions. Is that because they suspect foul play?
So the sheriff is saying that he does not suspect foul play. There's been 2 autopsies. So the initial autopsy is Jackson County, Mississippi. The Jackson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office had an autopsy done, and it came back undetermined death. So there was no. They're saying is potentially a drowning, but there was no confirmed cause of death. So the family had a second autopsy done, basically came back with the same determination. So we do not know what exactly happened and how he died. So the second autopsy is waiting on the organs to get to the autopsy, so it is a partially done autopsy. I refuse to buy into the racial narrative just because I like tangible data. I don't want to look at whether suspect A had money or victim B was black. I don't look at that stuff. That stuff's irrelevant when you're looking at the facts of the matter of the case. What happened, who was around, were there witnesses, what are the witness statements, what is the evidence around, and what does the autopsy and toxicology say? So those are the things that matter, not the racial part of it that the media is always trying to create. So it does make it more difficult on the investigative agency. I'm not going to take the side of Jackson County Sheriff's Office yet, but I do want to say that it does make it more difficult for them to do their job when you have this automatic racial tension that shows up. So I do feel for them on that, but at the same time, now the FBI is involved. There was a cell phone. Nolan Wells' cell phone is also a factor. That's a questionable thing. So Nolan Wells' cell phone was in the possession of his friends on the boat, and there was a transfer of that cell phone from Nolan Wells' friends to his mother. So once they got that, then in the meantime, Nolan Wells' body was found. So at some point between the time that Nolan Wells' body was found and the time that the mother got the cell phone, stuff was deleted out of there. So
Is that what's creating the suspicion?
yes. So there is something there. I don't know what that something is, and I can't even count out the parents as to deleting it. Somebody deleted something, either the friends did or the parents did. Somebody deleted something out of there, and it's just going to matter of when did it get deleted, when did they take possession of the phone, as to pinpoint as to who did it. So there's a lot to look at with this case yet, and the toxicology report is not even back yet. So I suspect there will be alcohol in the system. I don't know if he was a drug user or not. He was a college athlete, so maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Who knows? So I'm not going to comment further on that until I see the toxicology report. But it does seem like the hype around the case is dying down a little bit. But at the same time, I'm watching the sheriff and the prosecutor right now. How are they maneuvering with this case? Well, now the prosecutors put out a statement and said, well, we're going to go ahead once the case concludes. We're going to present it to the grand jury. Okay, that's fine. A lot of people might say, well, if they're presenting it to a grand jury, then there has to be a suspect, right? Not necessarily. Sometimes you can submit a case to a grand jury without a suspect and let the grand jury sift through things. The grand jury then has the ability to subpoena witnesses. So they can have these witnesses come in and testify as to what they saw, and they can conclude if there is something suspicious there that falls in the parameters of the elements of the crime. So it'll be up to them. But what I see it as is the prosecutor and the sheriff since this case is such a national case, this is them deflecting responsibility to the grand jury. Now, there's already threats happening. People are threatening to kill each other. You have it on Nolan Wells' side, and you have it on the kids' side. So I don't like that they did this early, because it allows the malicious actors that are gonna start to emerge to start attacking potential jurors. They're gonna start trying to manipulate this jury, even though they haven't named the jury yet. They're going to make sure that they put that threat out early, like, we need this or else, and it will happen. It will come. We've seen these high profile cases do this before. So what it does is the sheriff takes the heat off of him, the prosecutor takes the heat off of him, and they switch it over and they put it on the jury. Now, I think that's unfair, because the jury doesn't have special protections like a prosecutor does or a sheriff does. So the jury is going to be kind of hung out to dry, and is going to take a lot of abuse. They're probably going to have to fork out some money. Probably the county or somebody is going to have to fork out some money to protect these jurors, because there's going to be some issues come out of that. Depending on what way if they come back with no bill means that they found no evidence of foul play, no crime committed, or there was just no suspect to pin it on. So there could be a no bill come back. Now, does that mean it's the end of the world? No. They can find evidence later, and they can resubmit the case back to the grand jury at a later date. So just because it's a no bill, it doesn't mean it's over. It just means they didn't have enough to indict anyone. So that's kind of where that case is at right now. I'm paying close attention to the sheriff and the prosecutor and seeing how they're maneuvering, because that's going to tell me if they have doubt or not.
So We hear of people drowning all the time. This case is definitely getting a lot of attention. And if you have two autopsy reports proving he drowned, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not foul play. Someone could dump a person into an ocean where they can't come out and then they will drown. Am I correct?
I mean, yeah, it doesn't prove anything. It just is, but the cause of death right now is undetermined. So
I see.
there isn't even a drowning
Oh,
determination
okay.
yet.
Okay.
The sheriff suspects drowning. That's where that came from. But as far as the autopsy goes, there's no definitive determination of the cause of death.
Well, I hope they get to the bottom of it. So many murders, so many crimes. It's like crimes are just oozing out of our pores anymore. My friend Laura filed her case, I think about 3 months ago, and she finally heard from someone, and it hasn't even been entered into the system as yet.
Yeah, she has to remember that the courts are not in a hurry to do anything.
I got it. Well, Erik, I hope that you and your counterparts get to the bottom of this, and like you always seem to find the bad guys, that if there is someone who has done this, that you will be able to help the authorities hold this person accountable, or people, who knows. So, is that the only case you're working on now that you want to share?
I just had one pop up this week that I have a very close friend that's an investigator. She's an independent investigator as well, and her name's Nicole Hidalgo, and all her handles she goes by Smokeahonis, but she's pretty famous in Kentucky, and she's become a close friend of mine, and she covers. Everyone's heard the theory that Mitch McConnell's dead.
Yes, I believe he is.
There is a plot twist that the media is not covering at all. So there is an investigator, and her sister has made a video, and her sister's name is Desiree Townsend, and Desiree Townsend claims that her sister was just found dead. That was investigating whether or not Mitch McConnell is dead or not. Yes. So she was found unalived. Her dogs were shot, and nobody's talking about it.
I know he's dead. I just know it in my gut.
I think she was getting close to making a definitive determination that he is dead, and she was getting ready to talk about it, and they offed her. That's my theory. I can't prove it, but that's what it adds up to me. Because seeing the interview with her sister and the video her sister made, she's this reporter was not a suicidal type of person. She was very ambitious, loved her job. She lived for it. So this is a very disturbing situation, especially since her dogs were shot. She had 3 dogs, I guess, is what I understand.
When did this happen?
Just recently. So they found her unalived herself, and the family's not buying the story. And I think that's going to be something that me and a couple people... I'm
not family, and I'm not buying it, and something tells me you are not either.
No, I don't buy it at all. I don't trust anything that comes out of Mitch McConnell's corner.
Listen, I happen to be very intuitive, and of course you can't prove anything with that, but I've known for a long time, I think since the night when I made the comment, not even knowing he was sick, I think he was already deceased. But right. It goes to show you how dangerous the people that so many put their trust in are. Why would you be lying to the American people? Why would you be keeping a dead man alive if he is deceased? Why? Answer me, Erik. Why would they do this? Why would they just announce to America that he's dead?
Well, for one, Andy Bashir is threatening to appoint his own person to that seat. They don't want that. Andy Bashir is a crook. I don't care what anybody says. He is the biggest crook in the state of Kentucky. He sold out his own people for Big Pharma several years ago. But losing Mitch McConnell right now creates a problem in the Republican Party. He is a respected ranking member. He's been around for 1,000 years. Probably he's
older than his son.
He may be like one of those bloodlines that has always been here since the Jesus days. So if Mitch McConnell dies, Lindsey Graham dies, can you imagine the amount of conspiracy theories that come out? Can you imagine? Lindsey Graham.
What are the chances that two of them and you know what's the weirdest, people? I'm not a witch. I'm just a normal girl with overdeveloped intuition. The night after I said this, Lindsay dies, and then we hear that Mitch is hospitalized.
Right.
My higher self knew something like this was happening.
Right. You know, it's funny because I talk about I made a video on TikTok a few days ago about, because I don't like Andy Bashir at all. I can't stand him. So when he made that video kind of threatening Mitch McConnell's camp and saying you better prove life or else I'm going to have you replaced.
But is that how it works? Does one man just get to step up and say I'm replacing him? Well, I read somewhere that nearly called him Lohan. Lindsey Graham is some relative of his sister.
Yeah, his sister. Yeah, so the governor does get to appoint a temporary replacement.
Okay.
So that is legal. However, you don't want Andy Bashir to do it. If you don't want a Democrat governor appointing a Republican appointee, it's not gonna work out.
What's the rule on that?
He can appoint whoever on the Republican side that he wants. He can.
Andy Bashir has the authority.
Yeah.
Legally to do that.
Right. So that's what they didn't want. It creates a problem. Granted, Mitch McConnell was retiring anyway.
So we are taking a man who's in rigor mortis and setting him up in some pillows and with a big weird grin to fool Americans.
When I made my TikTok video, sticking up for Mitch McConnell, because I didn't think it was right what Andy Bashir said, considering that there were pictures of Mitch McConnell alive in the hospital. I can't prove it. I wasn't there, so I got to take what the media gives me and make it true. So
No, you don't. My friends don't do that.
Well, I don't like Andy Bashir, so any chance I get to take a shot at him, I do. And because he is a super crook. But I started getting a bunch of kickback from like Mitch McConnell's staff. And they started sending me messages, and they were like, "Oh, I see what you're trying to do, but Mitch is this and Mitch is that." I'm like, man.
Oh my God, you're very important.
I don't care. I don't care what they have to say. They can sit here and whine and cry. They're not going to unalive me without someone going down with me. I'll promise them that. But the point that I made to them though is, okay, I'm actually trying to stick up for Mitch McConnell. Y'all did acknowledge that. However, you have to look at Mitch McConnell's district. He's been in Congress 40-some years, and he has one of the poorest districts in the United States of America. You tell me what kind of a great job he's done for his constituency. Not a damn thing. And you can't stick up for people like that. You can't stick up for people like Thomas Massey. You can't stick up for people like James Comer. They live in like the most impoverished parts. They represent the most impoverished parts of the state of Kentucky. So I don't want to hear anything you're saying on the steps of Congress when your own backyard is a giant disaster full of corruption. The cops are killing everybody. It's a huge problem. and they don't fix it because they're too busy doing bureaucrat stuff in Washington while their constituencies are suffering. So that's my spiel on that.
Well, I wonder if he is alive. It's a simple way to satisfy the public. Put him in front of us to say hello, even if he could barely mimic the words. But
Right.
show us, you know what I mean? You know what bothers me about all of this is how foolish they just presume and assume we are. It's like, we'll just tell them this and they have to accept it. Because historically we did. We
Right.
had no way of knowing any different. Everyone leaned on the media, trusted the news sources. And so they don't understand this is not then. We are creating new history. And if it doesn't add up, and like I always say, make that make sense, and then I'll believe it. But if it doesn't, I'm not accepting it. We are no longer going to sit back and just swallow the pills you're trying to wash down our throats when it's clear that we are being lied to. So, Erik, we're out of time. But before we go, there's one thing I'd like to discuss with you because you are a victim of this. So, everybody in America knows about TikTok. And I know a lot of people that are my friends, and when I see something and I send it to them because I think it's something that would help them, I get a message back, oh, I don't use TikTok. And I laugh because we all know all the news reports where they were trying to get TikTok taken out of America. And I always said, when the government is making a big deal about something like this, that's the thing you want to get. Because the reason behind it is never what they tell you. They were telling us is because the Chinese will get our secrets. Well, guys, I know the majority of you watching me are brilliant, or you will watch this show. Where was your cell phone made?
Right.
Anyway, it's so foolish that people are buying into it and are still buying into it. So here's the TikTok story I want to share with you. Erik was posting a lot of things on TikTok, like what we talk about. And we got new ownership. Those who wanted TikTok gone are now owners. ByteDance, the company who started TikTok, they only have 19% of TikTok now. And guess who has a majority? American shareholders, including Larry Ellison. Go do your homework. And so suddenly, they own TikTok, and I keep getting prompts to become an active participant on TikTok. Isn't that kind of funny? But guess what happened after it changed? The censoring became off the charts to where they banned Erik's account. And he's only one of hundreds of people that helped me to where I am today who continuously are being banned. And now you don't even get a reason why your account is banned. And it's because those are the people with the news. Those are the people telling us what those who are trying to sabotage it and get rid of it before they got ownership don't want you to know. It's unbelievable how foolish these people assume the American people are. And I believe we feed that thought of theirs when we participate in the fear campaigns that they lodge against us. And so, guys, there's nothing to be afraid of on TikTok. I've become a wiser person from being on TikTok. And I have to add, Erik and I did a show where we talked about Erik being banned for no reason. We still didn't know why. And I think a day or two later, Erik's account was reinstated. I'm not saying that's why it was reinstated, but I find the timing very interesting, which tells me what I always tell you, they are watching us. And just so you know, we get a lot of issues with our videos. We get a lot of attacks. I'm sure you saw last week's video. It took me 7 attempts to get that video out. And before I loaded it, I checked it, I edited it with a fine-tooth comb. And yet, when I posted it, you all saw what happened. There were yellow patches on the video. So I don't know why this is happening, but I have a pretty good idea. And I think by now you're all connecting the dots. You've seen me lose my voice. You've seen the color change. We are, both Erik and I, are being attacked when we are doing these shows. So Erik, you want to add your TikTok 2 cents and then we'll wrap? Because we're out of time.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok is minority owned by Chinese owners now. ByteDance is not the majority owner anymore. Larry Ellison is the majority owner. So I'm gonna, give you the exact timeline of what happened to my TikTok real quick. So when ByteDance was majority owner, that's when I got banned, and it was I did wait quite some time. I do have associations with House member Mike Collins, who's running for Senate right now, and he is on the AI infrastructure committee. And so I reached out to his office and said, "Hey, I need my TikTok back. Can you all do anything?" And it was like a couple of days after that, I got an email saying that they reinstated my account. And now they anytime people complain on my account, they take it off like immediately. So it actually kind of, Larry Ellison actually has helped me out a lot in my new TikTok account. He's allowed me to build it. It'll be bigger than what it was. I think I'm over 1 million views or something like that in 2 months. So I'm getting to where I was. But the key to that is, before, when ByteDance owned a majority of it, they had very strict censorship rules to TikTok. You had community violations all the time.
Because they were getting pressure from the American government. This started after all of those hearings, because I've been on there long before you. And
right.
There was none of that before. When they started pressuring ByteDance, they started censoring because apparently they didn't want to lose it. That's right. My gut feeling.
But we did find out that it was Andy Bashir and his security detail, his KSP officers that are on his security detail, that got my account taken down.
Your favorite friend?
Yeah. So now what do? I go after him twice as hard now.
Well, guys, we're almost out of time. But Erik, where is Victor Hill? I'm still waiting on Victor Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Promised.
Yeah, he's on. So he's been working on the Nolan Wells case as well, him and his brother. So they've been going back and forth between Mississippi to Georgia. So he said, I'll give her some time. Just let me get this Nolan Wells case under control. So we're both kind of doing the same thing right now. But he is interested in coming on to the show.
Awesome. The two of you together will be a treat for me.
You'll have your hands full, that's for sure.
Okay, I'm looking forward. You know me, I love a challenge. So before we go, what do you want to leave everyone with? Anything else you wanted to table before we wrap this session?
I mean, just pay attention to your elected officials. That's the biggest thing. We don't do enough accountability of our elected officials. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. If they're doing something wrong, or if you look at their constituency, like I do with Mitch McConnell and Hal Rogers and some of these 1,000-year-old congressmen that we have, that you look at their constituents and they're poor, they're struggling, they're not doing their job. And why keep electing these people into office when they don't care about the people that elect them? So just start holding these politicians accountable. We see Mondani and all these like communist guys that are emerging now. They have the right idea as far as government accountability, but they're not doing it right. You can't point the finger at Donald Trump and say government accountability. The accountability starts at the local level. You have to, the shit rolls downhill, and that's where you start. And then you work your way up the ladder. And if you don't hold these people at the local levels accountable, they're going to continue to be bad when they get to the federal level.
Thank you, Erik. And thank you all for watching us. I hope that every time we do a segment, you are getting a nugget or two that you hadn't thought of or heard of before. Then it makes it worth the while. And my goal, as always, is to wake up humanity to what is really going on so that you can take care of you and yours, because apparently there's no one out there doing that for us. And we will see you next week with another segment. And again, thank you.